We're live on YouTube.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the March 19th Committee of the Whole meeting of the Revere School Committee. We'll take a roll call of the members.
Mrs. Bronson Rizzo.
Here.
Mr. D'Ambrosio. Mrs. Gravellisi.
Here.
Mr. Ferranti.
I'm here.
Mr. Sinella.
Here.
Ms. Ty.
Here.
Mayor Arrigo.
Here. This morning, we have one item on the agenda, and that is the approval of sending DESE a waiver to allow Revere Public Schools to remain in hybrid learning model beyond the Commissioner's April 5th deadline for a full return to school. Any members have any comments? Mrs. Rizzo.
So I looked over the waiver itself, and then I was looking over some of the criteria. And I wasn't sure if there was any really specific criteria that administration was like sending to DESE. I know that one of them is among the criteria is that you have already exhausted the 3-foot option. And so far, it's saying that we really can't come back at 3 feet, and we haven't even done that yet. So if we submit a waiver, we wouldn't even be eligible, I believe, if we haven't done the 3-foot mark. And even if we put in the waiver, they'll come out themselves and they'll let us know other ways that we can do it to make the 3-foot. So I'm not sure if we're going under other criterias. It looks like if we're doing the 3-foot, we're not going to get approved for a waiver. And in that case, it doesn't make any practical sense to submit one. But if there are other reasons, then please tell me, help me.
Thank you, Mrs. Rizzo. Dr. Mokaba or Dr. Galucci, do you want to take a stab at that?
I think that what is clear in the waiver is that we know we haven't gone to 3 feet yet, but I think we're asking for that extension time to transition to start our hybrid model, have the practice, the safety and the security and the comfort for the parents to know that we can do this hybrid model successfully, and then we will transition. I don't think we're not meeting the expectation where they would send a team out because we're saying we can't go to 3 feet. We're saying we will do what we can, we just can't get there yet. And we would like an extension in order to allow us to get there.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Rizzo. We'll go to Mr. Sinella and then Ms. Ty. Mr. Sinella.
All right, I'm a little confused because technically we're doing it now in gradual steps. So that if we're granted the waiver, we'll be no further ahead up until May. And school's going to close in June. I guess my question is, we're already in the process of bringing children back into school, students back into the schools. Why can't we just continue it? And then by April 5th, we're in good shape to just go on with the rest of them.
So I think, can I speak to that?
Sure, yeah, Dr. Galucci, go ahead.
Yeah, so I think, Mr. Sinella, that we've spent a lot of time planning this very carefully as a group, as a gradual roll-in to ensure that we're bringing kids back in a safe manner. Part of the spirit of the waiver is to get our feet on the ground with this brand new format that we're now instituting, be able to see how this goes in terms of bringing kids back, and eventually move to that more aggressive model where we'd have many more students in the buildings. It would be like going from 0 to 1,000. And so I think these weeks where kids are returning to school in very gradual spaces has been really beneficial for an overall return to school, ensuring that safety measures are being met, ensuring that staff feels comfortable, confident, and then moving towards, just as we are now March into April, moving towards bringing more kids into school. It almost kind of falls in line. So if we think about it, March 29th is going to be our first week where we're at max capacity for this model, get a few weeks in at this model where we have those hybrid kids in, and then move towards the new mandates that require even more students to come in. So it kind of fits that gradual continuum that we've been on and established.
But I think that we're probably ahead of most communities in the state, wherein as our teachers have received their shots. We've got children coming back into it. And is it the 6 feet, the 3 feet? Is that the main issue? What other issues? I mean, we've planned for this from last September. We submitted 3 plans to the state. So, I mean, other than something glaring, I don't understand why. I mean, we've got until May 5th to get it straightened out, whatever's bothering you people. And to prolong that another 2 weeks. And by the time the high school gets in, it's almost the middle of May. So, I mean, when you mention brand new issues, what are the brand new issues aside from 3 feet, 6 feet that we may not know about?
So I'm not sure it's issues per se. I think it's more of that gradual opening of schools. So we've had schools with no students in them since September. And we've established this plan as a means of gradually bringing our kids back in order to be able to function as a school system in the first few weeks. And we're moving, even our initial return, we didn't say on March 8th, let's bring hybrid A and hybrid B at full capacity. We were very strategic in how we established kind of that slow roll in. And if we map this out into April vacation, we're continuing along that gradual roll in. So it's not that there's new issues that are arising. In fact, the return to school has been very successful, but we've had very small populations. Next week's going to be a larger chunk of students coming through our doors, and I'm sure we'll have a learning curve there. March 29th, as I said, in terms of our current model, is going to be the heaviest return of students. And if we kind of follow that out, establish that for a few weeks, then I think we'll be in a much better place to welcome back the kind of numbers that are talked about in the commissioner's guidance. So
All right,
it's
let me
not
just
about any
run-
new issues. It's
Just one more thing then. I think if the state looks at what our request is, which is kind of not specific, and they look at what we've done and what we're capable of doing, then it sounds as though if we're granted a waiver, that no one else in the state is going to put the kids back in school on April 5th, because there's no one that's prepared as much as we are. So, I don't know. I'm betwixt. I really am. Thank you. I'll let somebody else speak.
Thank you, Mr. Sinella. Ms. Gravellisi, I know you have your hand up. I see you, but Ms. Ty was wanted to speak. I think
She can go. I'll yield to her.
All right.
I
Ms.
have
Gravellisi.
just one question, so go ahead.
Thank you, Ms. Ty. I didn't realize you had your hand up. I just want to say that I'm in favor of the waiver. I have to disagree with Mr. Sinella that we're kind of ahead of the game. We're actually behind the game, because if you look at the statistics, there's been roughly 450,000 school-age children in schools since September in Massachusetts who have been in a hybrid model and are now prepared to immediately move into the full in-person April 5th. We're just transitioning. There's been a lot of surveys taken. There's been robocalls. There's been community meetings. We have many people from multiple languages that, we need to communicate with in every different language that they speak to get the word out and let them know, okay, well, we said today we're switching to this, but next week we're going to be full in person. Like, I think to get that message out to the whole community would be really, really difficult, since we are definitely behind in the state of Massachusetts. And just my feeling, I think that May 3rd is a more realistic full in-person start date. Just my opinion.
I find that hard to believe that you honestly and earnestly feel that we're behind everybody else.
We are. If you look at the statistics in the Globe, there's roughly 450,000 school-aged
Well,
children.
I don't
in-
subscribe to the
in-
Globe anymore. They're too opinionated, but the
Oh,
difference here is.
I'll send you the article. It comes
The
out
state,
every.
but the
Excuse
state
me.
is saying that this is what the state wants.
I
They've got medical
understand.
experts, they've got educational experts, and yet we're bucking what the Department of Education has researched and has the best minds going that, no,
Those
we don't want to do that. Okay.
Those statistics come out every 2 weeks in the Globe, and they
Right.
also have the statistics of what the spread in the school communities have been statewide with the 450,000 students that have been attending since September. So these children are already used to this, whether it's 2 days in, 2 days off, 1 week in, 1 week off. So they've already accustomed to it. So we haven't even adjusted to that yet. So in my opinion, trying to readjust before we've even adjusted is going to cause a great amount of confusion.
Thank you, Mrs. Gravellisi. Ms. Chai?
Well, I agree with that I think that we are behind in that way. I think in spirit, we're way ahead of many other systems and cities and towns, but we still have not put into place the plans as quickly as the other. We're going from 1 to 3, as opposed to many places are going from Model 2 to Model 3. In our request for a waiver, and first of all, if the state didn't think that people needed some waivers, they wouldn't have put in that possibility. So they must have been anticipating that some cities and towns would be looking for a waiver. Secondly, are we going to ask for a date certain on return, or is this going to be open-ended, or will there be conditions about when we can return full-time? What exactly will our request be?
They requested May 3rd,
For elementary.
1 month
And-
after the commissioner's date,
I believe it's May 3rd,
and then May 10th.
May 10th. Yep, correct.
Okay. That seems to be a sensible date.
Thank you, Ms. Chai. Mr. Franti?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a question for Dr. Galucci, Dr. McCullough. Has the MTA filed an injunction to stop schools opening on April 5th? Because they said they were going to do it. I just wonder if anybody knows anything or that process is still going.
I'm not up to date on that, Michael. I apologize. I have no idea.
Okay, because I think that the misnomer out there is that if we apply for the waiver, we don't want to go August 5th. I mean, I'm sorry, April 5th, because of the circumstances. And I think it needs to be perfectly clear out there to all the people, parents and students, that there is a possibility that that might not happen on the things that I've read. And I was just wondering if anybody had any information on that. And it would be probably helpful to get it out there to people so they understand why we're applying for the waiver. Because it might just work out that way anyways. Just my opinion.
That's a good point, Ms. Franti. I know that, recently the commissioner obviously won authority to force districts back to the classrooms full-time, which I think everyone was following and knows. And I know there's been some conversation about potential legislative interference that would come in around whether or not the commissioner has that ability or that jurisdiction. But I don't know of anything that's been officially either filed by the MTA or kind of discussed on a legislative level that would change any of this. So, but it's a valid point to make sure that people are informed of the fact that there may be, I don't know if there's going to be an option, whether or not they could say you have to come back. Absolutely. And I think that's why the waiver process was set up, and to Mrs. Gravellisi's point, well, I think having our kids not in the classroom for a full year, they are behind. They are behind a lot of other districts that that have been able to go back to hybrid or have been able to have some in-person learning. So on that point, I think, well, Ms. Ty made a very good point in saying, in spirit, we're ahead, but I think realistically, if you look at the fact that our kids were not doing in-person learning for a full year, does put them at a disadvantage and behind. And I think that's why we need a little bit of this time to just get folks acclimated, get families acclimated, get the kids acclimated. So Ms. Ty and then Mrs. Rizzo. Ms. Ty, go ahead.
Well, and I also feel some concern about the teachers. I mean, so we were so lucky because we have such a good mayor who got all of the shots ready. So I think, so they've had one shot, and then in 2 weeks, then they will have their next shot. And then there's a waiting period of at least 10 days and maybe 14 days. And I think that we would be better prepared within that period of time if we slow down just a bit. I realize that the chances of an adult giving it to a child or a child giving it to a young child, but certainly on the older kids, we have to be very concerned about that. And I just listened to Dr. Fauci yesterday talking about the new variants and where they are now, and expecting new surges coming in. So I'd like to be sure that they are all fully not only vaccinated, but seasoned. I myself usually get communications from the State Teachers Organization as a retired teacher, and I have not seen anything in my email or in my mail about that. So I don't think that has come out yet. But I am concerned that we be as safe as we possibly can be. I mean, I'd hate to, we've done it for so long. We've been so careful and done all the right things and erred on the side of safety that I just like to continue for that for a while. And I have every confidence in our teachers and in our administrators in being able to get kids in and to fully go through there. And of course, I am anticipating that we have a robust summer program as well.
Thank you, Ms. Chai. Mrs. Rizzo, and just quickly before Ms. Rizzo has the opportunity to speak, there was some legislation filed that, and thanks to Dr. Makaba for messaging me on this. There was legislation filed with a bill that opposes the April 5th start date. MTA is backing that legislation, but I'm not sure. I don't know if it. I mean, knowing the legislative process, I don't think it's gonna be fast tracked necessarily. So, Mrs. Rizzo.
Yeah, and from what I heard, that legislation that was filed is very weak, and it depends who you talk to also. But I just wanted to clarify a couple of things in my opinion. I do read the Globe. I don't take the Globe for what it states, but I do attend any DESE workshops. I attend any workshops around the state, also nationally. I do follow school committee meetings that are comparable to ours. I completely understand we're ahead in some ways, that we do have newer buildings. We're ahead that our ventilation is much better than Worcester. But even our neighbor in Everett, they're going back. They haven't been to school yet. They're going back. So we need to look at, there's times that we want to say, we want to compare ourselves to others. And then there's times that we want to say, well, we're not them, we're us. And right now we just need to look at what CDC, what the DESE guidelines are, and just keep in mind and putting our students first when we come to any of our decisions. And with that, as long as you do that, then you can't be disappointed in your vote. So, sorry for babbling. I'm only on my first cup of coffee.
Thank you, Mrs. Rizzo. Any other members have,
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Francis?
I just have one question, and is there, and I understand it's a month difference between when we want it potentially start and what the actual date is. Would there be a reason why we couldn't be ready for April 5th? I'm asking to Dr. McCober, Dr. Galucci, is there a reason why we couldn't be ready?
So I think someone earlier said we'd be transitioning during a transition. I mean, there's a lot that goes into opening our schools. Specifically in terms of this, we would have to conduct another survey for families to ensure we know who is willing to come back. We would have to basically revisit every operational process that we've been working on for months to kind of open in this hybrid process. We're looking at 2 weeks to do that. And just in terms of the school programming, it would be a tremendous challenge across the board, from transportation to getting the kids in and out of the building to scheduling. I mean, it's just really across the board. We'd be transitioning during a transition, as someone put it earlier. And you can kind of imagine what goes into that, but that would be the challenge for us.
And just my last question, if we are denied the waiver, what's our plan?
That's right. Yep.
If we're denied the waiver, do we have a backup plan, Richie?
I think we'd have to embark on the transition during the transition if we're denied the waiver.
Okay. Thank you.
Somehow, some way, get there.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Franti. Ms. Gravellisi, did you?
No, never mind. Thank you. My question was just answered.
Okay. Any other members? Is there a motion to approve the waiver?
I'll make the motion.
Ms.
I'll second.
It's motion seconded by Ms. Ty. Roll call the members.
Mrs. Bronson Rizzo,
No,
Mr. D'Ambrosio, Mr. Ferranti,
Richie, just exactly the, I know I just, the motions, this is the motion for the waiver.
Mhm.
Correct.
Okay, I'm voting yes.
Mrs. Gravellisi,
Yes.
Mr. Sinella,
No,
Ms. Ty,
Yes,
Mayor Arrigo.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor,
Motion passes. Mrs. Rizzo.
a point of personal privilege. Just to let you know that my vote today is not to be meant as a disrespect to the work that our administration and so many people have put into it. I'm just looking at it from my purview and what I know of it, and that's how my vote is based on. But I do thank everyone for their hard work, trying to do everything possible.
Thank you, Mrs. Rizzo. Seeing no further business, any other members have anything else before we adjourn? No. So will the chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
so move, Mr.
Okay, seconded, and we'll adjourn at 9:31. Thank you, everyone.
Have a great
Bye,
day.
everyone.
Have a good one.